What should I do if I'm feeling stressed about the market?
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, sort of the genesis of the videos that we started. So the first video that we did was on the 21st of March, 23rd of March, sorry, 2020. So lockdown happened here in California on the 16th of March. And, talk about fear, right? The fastest 35% drop in history. So you're losing money at the same time that you are, physically afraid of this
Mhm.
virus. Uh, and I remember one, 24-hour period where I was answering emails almost straight through the night. And so I decided, really just in defense to try to record a video, send that out. And what I did in that video is I just tried to point out these are the positive things that are happening. And I think the problem that happens is it's so easy, and I've said this 100 times, to find the negative. It's everywhere. They can point it out to you. It sells. It's a lot more difficult to find the positive. Back then, at that time, we were talking about, look at Congress is pushing out all of this stimulus money. The Federal Reserve has lowered rates to zero. The Federal Reserve is doing quantitative easing. They ended up buying, what, $6 trillion worth? A billion. I can't remember. Might be of bonds off the open market to basically flood cash into the market to try to support things. And we ended up with one of the greatest runs that I can remember from that bottom, which happened just the next day. I
Mm.
recorded it on a Sunday, and that Monday was the bottom for that particular pandemic downturn. And we ended up with a massive run up, one of the best we've seen. And so that's kind of how I would handle the stress of the markets. Look at what's positive right now. So, right now, obviously, the biggest positive is the fact that these companies are trying to race with each other to build out these data centers. And there are, the chip companies are going to make money. The real estate companies are going to make money. The construction companies are going to make money. The energy companies and the supplier of energy parts are going to make money. Networking, cybersecurity, right? All of this stuff is going to happen. And so, the expectation, the projection is for $4 trillion worth of spending on AI over the next 5 years, and that's been growing pretty much exponentially. And so there's a huge positive. As long as that's happening, the stock market's not going to have a 30 or 40% drop when they're spending $4 trillion unless something else really big happens on the other side, right? And so that's a key piece. And then you want to take a look at the fact that the Federal Reserve is lowering rates. And they have a say, don't fight the Fed, right? And it's a very good saying. So 8 out of 10 times the stock market is up 12 months later after a rate cut. And the average rate of return is actually 12%, little bit higher than average. And so the that's another positive. It's still going. There's still a 70% bet that there'll be a rate cut here in December. We just had a rate cut in September. There's another one in October. So to me, those are positives that you really want to try to take a look at. And again, that's the basis of the show is and basis of our existence in this channel was to try to say, okay, if you want to be a balanced investor, you need to have some place you can go and see some of the positive things that are happening. And so we want it to be that side of the equation because I think it's actually less represented. Um, and you look at kind of what's going on in terms of development towards the future. There's some excitement in whether these turn out to be something or not. One of the positives that you have to focus on is what's the excitement in the market right now. There's a lot of excitement. Whether it's justified or not, actually in the short term doesn't matter. Uh, and so, they're excited about AI. They're also excited about global computing. I'm sorry, quantum
Quantum.
computing. And so we're seeing, a big movement there. Thinking, of course, into the future that, AI technology would be better served by these computers that are incredibly fast, that the AI could learn faster or produce more or do more, those types of things. So excitement in the market is there. Take a look at the overall momentum. Yeah, maybe this week is down, but oh my gosh, I mean, the overall momentum in the stock market since the Liberation Day, bottom is very, very high. And so momentum continues until you really change direction.
Mhm.
we're pretty far from changing direction. So as a positive, I'd be looking at it and say, okay, we haven't set a lower low since April. That's pretty good. Even now, even with the downturn this week, it's not a lower low. We're still setting higher lows, which is a key aspect of an upward market.
Hmm.
We are still trading above the 50-day moving average. The 50-day moving average is still moving up. The 200-day moving average is moving up. We're trading above the 200-day moving average. The 50-day moving average is way above the 200-day moving average. All of those things are determinants for primary direction, right? And so we have a chart for that too, right? Show this. So when I look at this and I say, okay, and this is more from the technical side. So, okay, AI is working, we got rates coming down and all these positive things. That's some pretty strong momentum,
Hmm.
right? And so that 50 day is the yellow line there. See, that's going pretty strongly up. We're still trading above that, just barely, but still hanging in there. And these are all like checklist things that you would look at when you're looking at primary direction. So the primary direction has been up really since, the April Liberation Day bottom. And so I would look at that and say, okay, until that momentum changes and we start to see a primary direction to the downside, I'm not going to get too nervous,
Hmm.
right? And so that helps. And there's reasons it's doing that, and that's why the AI pieces are in there. So focus on the positive if you're nervous about the market, right? Because it's out there. There's a lot of it out there. Um, and that's why I'm thinking at the moment that the market will continue to do well here for a while. I don't think we've reached that kind of blow off crazy top that we're going to have now. That doesn't mean we can't have a 10 or 15% downturn. I mean, look at how many downturns we've had, even on this chart. And we still have a much higher stock market in that time frame. So that is normal. We can have those, but are we going to have a 20% or more downturn, which is really where you start to change direction, right? Because that moves into officially a bear market category. So those are the things I'd look at if I was nervous about the market. I'd look towards these positive aspects that are out there. It's what we do on this channel as much as possible, try to point out, why these things are doing what they're doing. And we're not saying that we think the market's going to go up forever. That's not the point. The point is, if you're nervous, the likelihood is that you've been flooded with negativity.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you want to be a good investor, you want to also be flooded with positivity for whatever is out there. Because even in the dark days of the pandemic, there was still positives we were able to point out. Turn out those positives were the thing that drove the market up into one of the best bull markets I've seen. And so there's always something you can focus on, and it just kind of gets you to a more even stance. And then you can kind of be better at analyzing, okay, does the positive outweigh the negative, right? Does the fire hose of positive coming in outweigh the negative that might drain all that positive off? Yeah, does that make sense? So that's a great question.